Welcome back to Fandora's Box.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to Fandora's Box.
Yeah, get a bit more energy than me with that one.
I had a sip of the caffeine right prior, so
gotcha.
I had the instant highlight.
Yes, this is the podcast where we discuss our favorite fandoms in terms of our opinions, thoughts, theories, production analysis, and dissection of the story. We're going to be continuing our discussion of the Andor series. In this episode, we'll be going more into our opinions, our favorite episodes, and a couple digressions here and there. I'm joined, as always, by my friend and co-host, Christian Almonte.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Nice to see you guys. It's, we were very lore-heavy in the first episode, so I'm happy this will hopefully give your brains a little second to simmer upon the knowledge bombs that we have dropped, and also... if you're listening to this, you probably have seen the Andor series, so you probably want to talk about it as well. So,
and if you haven't, you've gotten a fucking ton of spoilers. You don't need to watch it now.
Correct.
All right, so
let's get into it.
Yeah, what did you think about the series as a whole?
Yeah, so my opinion on the Andor series. So Tyler and I, we also have a close friend named Adam. And he watched it prior to both of us watching it. He watched it way ahead. I think he was watching it while it was premiering. He was right on top of it. And he says it's his favorite show. And I honestly, I'm thinking it's pretty high up on the list too. I'm not gonna say it's my favorite, but it's honestly one of the best. My roommate also, Matt Leake, he also thinks it's his favorite show.
Really?
Yeah. So it's got really high reviews. I like Andor a lot. I like the story of it. I think the storytelling is immaculate. It's not my favorite Star Wars series.
Do you have a favorite Star Wars series?
Favorite Star Wars series?
It's okay if you don't.
When it comes to television shows,
you can do animated.
Well, I mean, I love the movies, but the shows. Honestly, it's gonna sound very stereotypical, but honestly, The Mandalorian.
No, it's an absolutely respectable choice. Like that in itself is just that was a creative left field shot. Shit. And Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni just destroyed that.
Yeah, and I love it because it's not to the point where you have to be constrained creatively with so many things. Like you can do a lot in the Mandalorian series, and no one will care because it's in its own zone. Yeah, you got a space cowboy with freaking Beskar armor. But anyway, going back to Andor, yeah. I mean, I loved it. Like I said, I mean, it's not my favorite, but I feel like saying it's not my favorite. Yeah. I was just saying my favorite means that I don't like it in any way. I love it.
Kids have favorites where it's like, if you have a favorite, you cannot like anything.
I know, exactly.
But no, what's your favorite ice cream? Chocolate? Oh, so you don't like vanilla, you don't like strawberry, you don't like mint, you don't like Rocky Road.
You don't like any other fucking ice cream.
It's right, I only eat chocolate.
No, but I did love Andor. The only reason why I didn't consider it like my ultimate favorite is probably because, I mean, one of two things. I mean, you have to remember, we both grew up with Star Wars since we were little babies, and I loved lightsabers, and there's no lightsabers in
So that's gotta be a check.
That's a bit of a not a deal breaker, but just it
seems like a deal breaker. You just said it, but it doesn't mean lightsabers.
Yeah. Well, what deal breaker once again is assuming that the relationship's not going to work out. I love Andor, and I will continue to love Andor for however many. I think it's only going to have one other season, but I'm going to love it until it dies. But
we know how it ends.
Well, it does die.
Yeah,
they all die.
Yeah.
Let me think. And the other reason is also because they did this stylistically. I actually read an article about it. I could probably send it to you if you want.
Sure.
But there's an article about the tone of Andor and why they made certain creative decisions with it. Because I had asked, this was about halfway through watching this, maybe a little bit over halfway through watching this. I was looking at all the characters and I kind of thought this in the back of my head and I was like, why aren't there a lot of aliens? You know, this is Star Wars. It's all humans.
I'm glad you asked. I can actually go into it.
It's all humans.
I haven't read the article you talk about, but I haven't.
Yeah. And so they made a point in the article. They were talking about how one of the key things about Andor was that they wanted it to seem like a hopeless kind of like a very dingy like everybody's struggling right now and it's going to be a really rough time. And the reason there's not because aliens kind of add to the fantastical like nutcracker, like it's so cool seeing all this stuff going on. You like this is a cool species. I love seeing this dude. I love seeing this
I see
dude.
what you're saying.
Versus this is very dingy, like very Game of Thrones style, where it's just like straight like, you are humans, you are hopeless and helpless, and you're going up against like the Empire, who's probably gonna fuck you up.
So going with that, the lack of aliens, I was taking it as because they're on Coruscant a lot of the time, and then it's also focused as heavily on the Empire. And the Empire was supremely xenophobic, did not racist as fuck. Like if you weren't human, get out. So I took that as that. I was like, that's why they're not showing as many, because it's so hyper focused on the Empire. It's like the Empire like didn't want aliens in anything. Like that's why there were no alien stormtroopers. There were no alien higher ups in the Empire.
That's true, but I can honestly riff off that for my point too.
Sure,
because
go for it.
Not only that, but if the Empire is all human and whatnot, that wouldn't necessarily mean that the rebellion would be all human. But because they showed the rebellion in its infancy as mostly human, it shows like they don't have connections with any other worlds right now. They're that own individual sect. They don't have like anybody. They don't have Admiral Akbar. They don't have nobody at their side. They only have their little town in their little fennec with these little things and doing all that. Yeah. So I feel like it just works very well with the narrative.
Yeah, because in Rebels, sorry, just a quick shot off. Like Rebels, in the other sects, you do see other aliens. Like the Rebels follow like the Ghost sect, which is like run by an alien. Like Syndulla is an alien. She's a Twi'lek. But yeah, and then obviously in Rogue One you see a lot more aliens, and then in obviously New Hope and everything you see a lot more aliens involved in the Alliance. Go ahead, what you're saying.
No, 100%. Because I mean, it just shows. I feel like when in a galaxy full of aliens of all different shapes and sizes, the way to best belittle a group of people is to show that they are solely from one race. You know, they don't have any pockets of aliens to help them out. They don't have any connections. It is literally, they are in this little world, and they are the ultimate underdogs, and they have to compete with the Galactic Empire. So I mean, when I read that article, I'm like, this makes a lot of sense, because
that's a good point in terms of production, because I took it as just a lore side of things, but that's really cool.
Yeah, from like a story perspective, it's like how else can you feel more small than if everyone looks the same as you do and you are like pinned down in this one area. Because even with the newer shows like Kenobi, The Mandalorian, they all have a bunch of different species and races and all that stuff. Like sure, some of the main characters are human, but like
Mandalorian, you have the Yoda species. That's one of the characters.
Like
and then
Grogu.
You have the Queel, the Ugnaught. He used a big part.
Exactly.
Yeah, and not to mention like all the variety of aliens you see like in the mercenaries.
The Tusken Raiders.
That guy they have from the very first episode of The Mandalorian, the blue guy. I don't know what species.
And he comes in later.
Yep. He's like a secretary.
He's like a secretary.
Which is hysterical.
They crash his speeder.
Yeah, it was hysterical.
Yeah, I'm like, this dude's just getting destroyed at every second.
Yeah, which was it was a good. It helped me think about it because at first I was like, that's why like. At first I disliked it because I was like, oh, they're being lazy. They're just keeping humans in it.
About you talking about Andor.
About Andor.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking, Mandalorian, they had so many aliens like in the.
That was my same thought too.
You know, they had that group of mercenaries in Mandalorian season 1, like where Bill Burr shows up, where they had like.
Whatever.
Well, not just that was in season 2, but in season 1, the mercenaries that are hired to release that prisoner from that ship.
They got the horn guy and the Twi'leks.
Yeah, he's a Devorian. Yep, and then the Twi'lek. Yeah, so I was like, no, they're aliens. Like, why? They have to be a reason why they're doing this. It gave me pause and actually allowed me to think about this. And I took it from a story perspective, as I just said, where they're showing it mostly from the Empire side and from Coruscant, so you're not going to see a lot of aliens, anyways, just because the culture and like the feelings about things had shifted so dramatically because the authority power, the Empire, was xenophobic. Like it was human centric.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I see what you're saying now, which is so cool about like the production of it.
Yeah. Because I mean, awesome. they made the conscious choice for that. Because if you think about it, like you could have easily put however many aliens you wanted, just like in Mandalorian when he gets his ship beaten the crap out of by those spiders and he lands on that water planet.
I'm not talking about my least favorite episode of anything. I
wanted to touch you with that a little bit.
I don't like you.
But you know the planet, his beat up ship goes to that water planet to look for the Mandalorians, and it's like they have the frog people, they have freaking Admiral Akbar's homie repairing the ship with their own nets and all this things. And it was
on Calamari.
There was very little
aquariums.
humans on that planet, which is what you expect from a Star Wars story. Like every episode of Clone Wars.
Yeah, because there would be planets that are host to like just those species. Like that's where those species live, and on these watery planets. Like you have Camino, which is basically just Kaminoans. You know?
Yeah.
So
It's the same thing.
Exactly, and it's the same thing because the overtaking of the Empire for the Galactic Republic, it did not diminish the population of other species. You know, they could have just as easily been like, "What's happening on Felucia right now?" Or what's happening over here on, X-Ray. And even in the Coruscant Senate, the only time that you ever saw aliens was when they were like leaving the room because of her speech.
Well, most of them weren't there, which is a point back to our first episode of just like how few people like in the Senate cared, because I think a lot of them started to realize like how little power they had, so there's no point.
Yeah.
And they also didn't care about what Mon Mothma was.
Yeah, because Mon Mothma and her whole little charities that she was going.
Not even just charity, but like every time she spoke was against the Empire, so like nobody's gonna listen anymore because they realize
because
like
nothing's gonna happen out of it.
Yeah. Like I'm not gonna have be part of like going against the power at me.
Yeah.
No thanks.
So that was probably one of the coolest things, my coolest revelations with Andor, which is what initially, at the beginning as a fan, I was like, oh, this is lame. Not a lot of alien races. But later on, when I realized that this was all intentional, I'm like, oh, actually, now I really like this because it really just shows like how they are ants in a freaking world of wildebeests, they're gonna get stomped down.
Small fish in a big pond.
Yeah. So I actually respect the choice that they did from a production standpoint.
That's cool. That's cool insight. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Because I was gonna take that as, because they have different arcs of the season. Obviously, like they have the Narkino 5 arc where he's in prison. They have the beginning.
The siege.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the siege arc. The specifically the I think it's Narcano or Narkino 5. I'm probably mispronouncing it, but when he's in prison, that whole arc was actually based on kind of 1970s sci-fi, and they also brought back like the On program. They brought that back from THX 1138, which is George Lucas's first film.
As a small aside, completely small aside. I love Andy Serkis, man. It was so nice seeing him.
Oh yeah, he's always just so intense and it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's cool. Very rare do you get two Andy Serkis in one franchise.
Mm-hmm.
Like Snoke and this guy. Although I had an argument with my roommate about this actually.
What's that?
Because I'm a former lifeguard, a former swimmer in high school, former swimmer in college, and the plot excuse for why Andy Serkis had to stay behind was, "Oh, I can't swim." I'm like, dude, just get a couple of your boys to jump down with you, and they'll help you float away.
I don't know if that was super plausible because I don't realize how far they had. I don't think you realize how far they had to swim. They were not close to. They showed it from super high up. They were not close to the shore, my guy.
Still, but like in a position where it's either that or you get recaptured, probably interrogated or killed, or put back into the same hellhole that you wanted to. Wouldn't you rather elect to like do that, even if it's
I think at that point
because you've gotten so far.
I think at that point his character had already accepted that he was going to die, and he was going to escape. He escaped. That's all he wanted to do. He got out, and I'm sure there's like maybe he'll come back. Who knows?
Yeah.
Because they really didn't say anything. But he was gonna fight and die. Like there was still chaos going on in the prison. So like we're now running like the theoretics and the assumptions of what could happen. But I could see kind of plausible just because I could see in relative like how far they were from So it's like he wasn't gonna be able to swim. If he couldn't swim, he wasn't gonna.
Yeah, that's fair.
And drowning is like terrible.
Well, I think that that was my friend's point to attest to this was that it was such a chaotic situation with all them jumping off.
Nobody's gonna they're not gonna organize like, oh we'll hold them.
Because maybe Cassian would have stopped to help him, but if he wasn't able to get another guy to help him, the chances of him, the chances of maybe a couple people helping you if you can't swim across, that's one thing. But if it's just one other guy.
And I think at that point, not like when they're in the prison because they were more organized, but once you got out of the prison, it was every man for themselves.
Yeah, it was very free for all.
Yeah, so
which
that's a natural way of being about it.
Yeah. Plus, some of them were actual criminals. So.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I resonate to that, but I feel like maybe it's just me as a viewer, and this is good storytelling for me to be so emotionally attached. But I'm like, I would have tried to help.
Yeah.
Andy Serkis swim across.
But I was on the edge of my seat that whole last episode of that arc where they were escaping. I was like, this is intense as fuck. Like, it was awesome. Like, the whole thing was so well done. And then they killed that guy Olaf, which was actually really sad. Like, the whole thing was crazy. That was such a good arc.
Yeah.
Favorite episode?
Favorite episode?
Mm-hmm.
I actually went through this earlier today because I still wasn't sure.
It's okay.
I'm gonna tentatively say episode 6, The Eye, which is when all the rebels launch into the galactic storeroom with all the currency, and they try and handle
the culmination of the heist, the Aldani heist.
I just loved it because it harkened me back to the original Clone Wars series. Because remember how the Clone Wars? I mean, they were episodic, so they were only a half hour until they started introducing 2-parters and multiple parters later on.
Yeah, they are.
But in the beginning, they were all strictly to that format of you get 30 minutes to tell a story.
The beginning and the end, and then
yeah. So much had to be done in that one episode, and it was just really like everything had you had to pass insurmountable odds, but the characters were super intelligent. They all knew their roles. The lieutenant was awesome. I forget his name.
Oh yeah, I meant to bring that in. I forgot in our first episode about Imperial help on the inside, and like how crucial it was.
Yeah,
that was just a quick aside.
Yeah, because the lieutenant, I'm actually pissed that he was killed off because I'm like that guy. I would have loved to see what he was capable of because that guy.
I don't know how much he cared. Like his description was, he got fucked over by the Empire. That's the only reason he was helping them. I don't know how much further that was going to go into him joining the rebellion.
That's true, maybe, but he had masterful knowledge of everything on the inside of Imperial movements in terms of the they practiced the marching, they practiced what signals mattered to what. So he was.
That wasn't him. That was the other black guy.
Well, yeah, but presumably he told him all that stuff.
No, the other guy knew that because he was a stormtrooper.
Oh, my apologies.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I was confused when I first saw him too, because I hadn't gotten a quick look at the lieutenant.
No, because I always thought the lieutenant trained the others.
No. The lieutenant was just giving them information. The lieutenant couldn't stand there. He had a job to do. He couldn't just hang out with them the whole time. He kind of had to. People would know if he was missing. Versus the other guy was an ex-stormtrooper. That's how we knew how to march. Well, I don't remember his names.
No, yeah.
Not a racist. He was the tall. Were you trying to avoid saying this? No, it's tall, gruff voice.
No, it's honestly because like I said, the names of the whole Andor series were actually atrocious to pronounce. None of them were just named Chuck or Beth. They were
my name's Skin, Toenail. It's what the fuck? I don't know.
I know, especially considering they're all human. Can't you just the only ones that were easy were Cassian and his mom, I think.
Marva,
yeah, it's very basic. But the rest of them were
well, they weren't memorable, and I don't think they were supposed to be because I think most of them died anyway. So whatever.
Yeah, fair enough. What about you? What was your favorite episode on Andor?
So I rewatched it just to make sure because
I watched
it last night.
He did not tell me this off campus. This is going to be a very genuine reaction. So what is your favorite episode, my guy?
So, like I said, I rewatched it today before you came over because I wasn't certain because I just watched it last night. But I was thinking, what was the episode that really kept me on my toes and kept me so you're just staring at the TV, hyper focusing.
Yeah, at the edge of your seat.
For me, that was episode 11. The way I kind of akin it.
That was the second to last one.
Second to last, yep. So to me, I akin it to my favorite day of the week is Thursday.
Interesting.
So everybody likes Friday. That's why thank God it's Friday. But for me, I like Thursday because it gets me pumped up for Friday because I know tomorrow's Friday. It's the anticipation. It's kind of like the drive to a vacation. I love that drive to the vacation. Almost more than the vacation itself. I just love the anticipation. The climb up the roller coaster before the drop.
The launch off of the pad before actually getting into space.
Yeah, so for me, episode 11 is my Thursday. It just, you kind of knew everything that was going to happen anyways in the next episode. But they brought in so many good things.
My rising action.
You had the scene of Marva dying and the kind of what happens to B, the droid. You have the miner guy. I think his name was Bimo or something.
I had to look that up because he was my favorite character.
Yeah, he was cool.
but I had to look it up.
You
It was
have like the finishing up of Cassian coming out of prison and like him and
Brasso.
You have
Amazing character.
You have where you find Cassian after escaping the prison, which is always nice to see, and like how emotional it was.
That's such a dumb scene though.
What?
He's got cast by a fisherman, and then like they just leave afterwards.
Well, I think it's kind of funny. Like, well, it was weird because they're fishermen, and it's like, why would they kill two people? Like, that just doesn't make.
Well, I know, but it was interesting to me. Going back to my original point, which was like there aren't any aliens, but they finally bring in an alien, and they're kind of like slightly douchey.
I think so. I mean, I haven't actually thought about this at all. So this is gonna be. We're doing this fucking live. It's. I think it could be kind of a testament to just how. Kind of contrast is because every time they come up against an unknown, they're just like terrible in some way. They're violent, like obviously anybody Imperial, but any of the prisoners, any of the guards, like anybody they come across is just like not a good person.
Right. Yeah.
And like they're gonna come across these aliens, it's like, oh great, here's one more struggle for like the hero to fight against. But it's like, no, not everybody's like that. Like most people just want to go about their life.
Yeah.
And like they give you obviously a backstory about how the Empire brought in the prisoners to this planet and fucked up the water for these fishermen. So you would think, and like. Sorry, it would go back to like even that the other guy back on Ferrex who was going to rat them out. The I can't remember his name. Sorry, Chuck. It's gonna sound bad, but the other black guy on Ferrex, who the guy he owed money at the beginning.
The cornrows or whatever.
Yeah. It's like
yeah.
Yep. It's like every person's either gonna sell you out or like nobody's friends with anybody. Like it's just like they have this kind of overshadowing. Like every time you come across something.
That was a peculiar character too.
It's like it's just like, it gives you like you can't trust anybody, right?
Yeah.
And you think everybody's like that, but then it's like no, not everybody's like that, dude. It's like two people just trying to like fish
just
and like
trying
do
to
their
exist.
thing. It's like no, like if you had just asked, we would have given you a ride out of here instead of trying to steal our shit.
Yeah.
I just love how casually like they're not gonna catch us even if they see us. It's like just shoot some with nets. I that's what I thought.
It was actually kind of funny too. I think that was almost designed to be a kind of a comedic relief effect because
everything had been so heavy and dark up until that point.
Well, it's also because it's like they're such slow meandering dudes, and they were like easily outsmarting the main character and like criminal. So I thought that was kind of funny. Yeah. But I thought it was my.
Yeah, I just see it as testament as like not everybody's terrible.
Yeah, I felt like it was good. I felt like it just could have been the scene could have been better. Or at least more important, because in reality it's just like we get it. They're aliens on these planets living their lives, and they're being affected.
Not just aliens, just like people, dude. Like just people doing their things, and like they have a bad.
I say aliens particularly because of the fact that these are different worlds from the core area that we were familiar with during the series.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, exactly what you're saying. They're just there's people trying to live their lives.
Not everybody's like terrible.
Yeah.
That's how I took it, and like I had no issues with the scene, so.
Yeah, I thought it could have been a little bit because they had that really intense momentum, like you were saying. This is like the Thursday climax up until everything goes down, and then it's just this silly little.
Well, you could also see it as like the heroes finally catching a break,
That's fair.
Because they were trying they escaped prison, and then they're like, what's the next step? Well, we got to get out of here, and like the scene before that was them fucking climbing up the cliff, which was tough.
But that's another thing. Like they hyped it up with such that like, is he gone? Are they leaving?
Tell me they're leaving. Yeah.
That which is really good storytelling because it's
it's emotional.
It's very psychological. Yeah. Like they're.
I need to hear it.
So it really shows.
Keep holding on.
Yeah, because if they didn't do that scene, you wouldn't have thought they left the prison. They were totally fine. But like no, they're still scared as shit, even though they
weren't out of the woods.
Yeah, no.
They just got out of prison.
Yeah, because sometimes they'll be you escaped and suddenly they're off into the next scene.
Everything's fine.
Yeah. So I thought, I mean, looking back, you actually honestly you might have changed my mind with that scene because
I was trying to. Like I said, this was straight live. I was not walking and planning to dissect the scene. I'm glad we had the chance.
But yeah, tell me more about why it's your favorite.
So yeah, as you said, like I think there were a lot of good emotions with almost every scene. You had Marva die, I think at the beginning of that episode or the end of the last one. I can't remember specifically. But so you have Brazos with like the interactions with B. You have that scene, or not just that scene, but every scene where Andor's like catching a break, and then like he finds out his mother dies, which sucks. And then like they really show his
Say
emotion.
least.
They really show his emotion about like his kind of which was kind of interesting in the story as a whole. Is like you see his character progression of like being immature and like doing his own thing, being real Han Solo-esque, before he gets kind of converted into like being a hardcore. I want to fight for something. So this is like the real moment when you see him finally like, my mom's dead. You know, I want to do something to kind of make her proud, which is like the scene where him and the other prisoner kind of part ways. You know, I thought that scene alone was like super emotional, where he's like, yeah, staring off the distance, but like not just like kind of like so stereotypical staring off the distance, but it's like, yeah, he's trying to like figure out his next move. And, you know, and then like we both have to split up because like people have to know what the hell's going on. And like people do, but like not to the extent that they're talking about. Then you have what else do you have? Yikes! There's so many like things happen. Like the emotion behind the entire episode. But I'm blanking on some of the specifics. But then you have my favorite scene in the episode, which was well, you have the scene with Saw Gerrera, which we talked about in the last scene. Saw Gerrera and Luthen, about how he dissuades him from going with the Anton Krieger in the Spell House heist.
Yeah, and I think I mentioned in the last episode how much I like Saw Gerrera as a character.
Yeah, so you have that really good interaction about how, and like, which brings us back to like my theory about how critical it was that they had those Imperial informants. So you actually see that play out, and like that scene was really well done, and like how he tactically, like how he pulled the pistol out of tubes, like just to hold the pistol and just to get this guy listening, which is the only way you're gonna get Saw Gerrera to listen is like if you have a gun to his head. Like how smart Luthen was, and then you have the scene where Vel and
Yeah, that was also like a twofold scene too, because
which is that?
Well, because not only was that Luthen like being like a cool guy, like, oh, I can hold a gun to you now, but it's also like, you don't understand. I understand that if I kill you, none of us are getting out alive.
I'm like, I'm not trying to kill you.
I'm not trying to kill you. I'm just trying to make you listen. Like,
yeah,
it's like that much of a like. He's not doing it to threaten you. He's trying to be like, roll it.
Take a breath.
Like,
Take a fucking breath.
take a hint, that kind of thing. So
yeah, and
I thought that was a good.
It worked.
I thought that was a good move because it was like a power move, but it wasn't like I'm a jerk power move. It was like I know you only listen to one thing.
Right.
So
you're not gonna listen to reason, so I need you to calm down. It was great. And then you had the scene where Vel and Luthen's assistants, like Vel trying to like let him know, want to talk to him because Vel thinks she's more important than she actually is. So it's kind of like you see the interaction between her and Luthen's assistant, who I cannot remember the name of, but the woman who works in his antique shop, about that. And then you have my favorite scene, which was Luthen flying away from his meeting with Saw Gerrera and being captured by the Imperials, and then like actually escaping with that crazy ship, and like just because you kind of see when he first meets Cassian and they escape Ferrex, you kind of see how good Luthen is, but then you really see how good he is because he pulls out all the stops. The thing he did with the shrapnel to destroy the tractor beam was crazy because he fires the shrapnel, but the shrapnel actually gets pushed even faster because of the tractor beam pulling the ship towards the Imperial ship. Where I was like, that's such a crazy good move. Like, how has that not been used yet by anybody at any point in this, like using a tractor beam against a tractor beam?
It makes me wonder if he had like a
knowledge,
a military background.
Yeah,
because that's straight up bounty. That's like something like Boba Fett would have done.
Yeah,
so that's like.
I
think that's above even because Obi-Wan Kenobi he did some like dogfights, but he didn't like flying. So I've
never seen anything like that.
Yeah, no, he didn't. He never did anything like that. But this guy like clearly was like, I don't want to do this, but
no,
let me show you.
He wanted to do that. Like he knew exactly what he's doing.
Well, no, he tried to convince them that he was like he was trying to bullshit his way out.
Oh yeah, trying to like pull up a code that would help him pass. Of course, you're gonna try everything, but at the same time, he was prepping to get out because I think he knew that like he wasn't just gonna get out of here.
Well, yeah. You can see that by the resignation when he like first like pulled up to them. He's like, oh shit.
Yeah. And then he gets out of the tractor beam. TIE fighter's in the air. He destroys a TIE fighter, and it was like I think it was a minute or two, but in reality, like that happened so fast. And, like anybody who's watching this is gonna be like, we're just gonna be stunned. Like this guy got away like so masterfully, and then the lasers come out of the side of the ship, and then just escaping. Like the whole thing was like just to a T. It's like almost like he rehearsed it. Like that's how well it went. Yeah, it was so good. Which gave me a lot more respect, and like this guy's not all talk, and like he's not just pulling the strings. Like he's got some meat behind him. Like he can back up what he has to say. So I think all of that in culmination just made me. That's why I love episode 11.
Yeah,
It's my
that was a
favorite
good episode.
Mm-hmm.
I also liked episode 12. That's why I thought you were gonna say it was episode 12.
Yeah. Well, of course that one's gonna be good.
Yeah, I love that one. I just like the it kind of turns it on its head where it's like we're an isolated community. We're small fish. We can't do anything about Imperials walking in on us. We literally have no militia, no army, or anything like that. But everyone, the good part about being a small little colony is that everyone knows each other, and we all have our system with the bells and everything. And
when that dude kicked that stormtrooper off the tower.
yeah, the bell guy was low-key a G.
Yeah.
Like that guy was a boss
For sure.
But that's why one of the things I really enjoyed too, because like when you on paper for me going into it, I was fearing the worst. I'm like, dude, Cassian's stubborn. He's gonna show up for Moira's funeral or whatever.
Yeah.
He's gonna do that no matter what. They won't be able to stop him. But he's going into like the most hardcore trap that's been set up for like a hot minute. So he's gonna get fucked, is what I thought. But then I'm like, wait a second. He has all of his boys like still like protecting him.
Yeah.
So like Brasso, like everyone was just like, yo,
came together.
We're gonna do this. And
could have been a foreshadowing.
That's
of, like,
why
the Rebel Alliance as a whole coming together.
Yeah.
It's like, that's how the only way we're gonna fight the Empire is united, not like separate.
Well, that was the theory, the prevailing not prevailing theory, but just one thing that was taken away from the Andor series was that Brasso, his friend Brasso, is like the epitome of a rebel. Like the guy literally.
Oh, from the beginning when he trapped that corporate security ship. Remember when the corporate people try to come in to capture Andor, and he ties the tubing or whatever to the ship, so when the ship tries to take off, it like swings. Yeah. Oh my god, that was
but like
so
he's such a rebel because like he's literally the guy that throws the first brick.
Yep.
Like he's like.
And then he just goes hard. Like,
and it wasn't like that he like. I mean, obviously everyone had beef with the Empire, but it's not like he like was actively choosing the path of a rebel. It was only like when like Cassian and his family like got in trouble, and then he's like, you know what, I really do hate the Empire. I'm gonna do a change for that, you know.
Yeah.
He's like really one of the first people to rally behind the flag of rebellion. So the guy, and no one ever talks about him too. Like I don't know why. But like he's not even listed in like the first few pages of the characters. Like you have to go down a while.
And yet he was in almost every episode.
I know he was like the most important guy. So yeah, I really enjoyed the way that Ferric rallied together and really turned the small group on its head because there's a lot of negative parts of having a small group. You're not able to be well armed. You're under some serious pressure. You don't have allies. You don't have this, that, or the other thing. But the good part about being a small, tight-knit group is that everyone can trust each other to do certain things.
Yeah, and that's why the little projection of Marva was so important, because she's just like, you know what? Fuck all this.
I'm surprised they didn't. Honestly, I'm actually surprised that they didn't turn off the hologram towards the beginning. I'm surprised that they let it go for so long, but that's their mistake, obviously.
Well, they were letting. I mean, that was again going back to like how you do these things is like.
Yeah.
You give them a little bit, and then before you clamp down to try and not do what happened. But obviously, like that didn't work for him.
I would argue that that's the first mistake that what's her name, Brenna?
Daedra.
I think that's the first mistake that Daedra made, and I think she realized that she when she was on the ground and stuff, she was like, oh shit, I actually fucked up for once.
Well, she wanted them.
So that Serval guy came in and was just like, I love you.
I don't understand that either. He was kind of whatever.
I don't understand his role. He's probably going to be more of a role in
his role was to do exactly. So I forgot to mention this in the first episode, and that's annoying. But his going further into how the Empire took control, because part of the way the Empire kept control at the beginning was to use these local government security, which is what you saw at the beginning. They were utilizing that more to kind of keep order for them, and then
they weren't imperial.
Exactly, they were corporate.
Which was what surprised me the most about the beginning of it. I'm like, wait a second, you're not.
No, they're corporate. Like corporate played a huge part in the Republic as a whole, which is like because these huge corporate conglomerates like the Trade Federation, like they use their own security forces to keep order around the galaxy essentially, and obviously they fucked up at the beginning when they messed up that whole Ferrix incident. Like that really allowed the Empire to put the hammer down and dissolve the utilization of corporate security, in terms of like what they were doing.
I always think that's like this is kind of strange, but for some reason I always think the actor who plays Cyril kind of looks like if Tom Holland, or no, who's the guy that played Spider-Man?
I don't know.
The Bully Maguire. Who was that?
Oh, Tobey Maguire?
Oh, Tobey Maguire. I feel like he looks like Tobey Maguire mixed slightly with your brother.
He does look familiar, and I cannot remember where that actor, what else he plays it, but he looks so familiar.
But I agree with you. I don't know what the fuck the point of that character was.
Well, his character was the instigation of that event.
Well, not his role, but like as a storytelling medium.
Oh.
It's just kind of odd that they kept him.
Well, he's
because there was a bunch of pointless. That's why I always think that Andor, and I forgot to mention this prior, but I think that Andor is slowed down in the middle a little bit. Because I thought they did really good at the beginning.
Oh, after the Ferris incident and before the Aldani heist?
Yeah, they like slowed down for a bit, and a lot of those were kind of flooded.
Well, it's a new arc, so like one arc ended and then rebuild.
But still, I still think that they flooded it with a lot of like him going to his mom, and there's like 5 scenes of him with his mom.
That was necessary. But
and I'm like,
I didn't like that. I don't like her as an actor. She was just, I don't know.
Yeah, and then they were like really focused in on like him eating cereal. I'm like, is this?
I hate how badly they portray people like eating, like, because she gives them like a handful of cereal and like a splash of milk. It's like, who the fuck makes a bowl of cereal like that? Like, or like anytime they drink, like they're so bad at drinking. It's like, just fill the cup up with water or something. Like, why do they have to
drink from the bowl? I'm like, I don't need to watch this.
Yeah, like the.
I had a lot of like mixed.
It could have been
because I'm like, is this supposed to be like what do you call it? Like is this supposed to mean something? Does this have any significance? But then I'm like, no, it's just a really awkward scene.
It's just like they do that in all shows where they just have them like doing something kind of natural, like eating cereal, but nobody eats like 2 pieces of cereal. But you eat like 5 bowls of Fruit Loops.
That's what they chose, I guess.
Yeah, I think going off of like what you think Cyril's role was, it could have been, and again this is live in opinion, but it could have been how they wanted to portray that not everybody was against the Empire. Like there are plenty of citizens who were for the Empire, not to the degree he was, but there were people that were loyal to the Empire, like in terms of like because they wanted the Empire to flourish.
And he did. I mean, he had a. He
was right
at the beginning. He had a logical. Like there's a man that has murdered 2 people, therefore I'm gonna.
There should be some sort of reprimand to this.
I mean, he had a very fundamental
he wasn't wrong.
Understanding of law and order in that regard.
Yeah, it wasn't wrong.
The only issue being, I mean, that's actually, I was surprised that his overseer wasn't actively more involved, because he actually was very smart.
No. His overseer was doing exactly what he should. Is like, keep things quiet, because they had the Imperial inspection coming up. So it was like, we're gonna keep this quiet. Because you were right. He was smart because he knew exactly what had happened with the engagement.
He said
he
started a fight that they couldn't finish. And they were obviously drinking, which they're not supposed to do. So we're not going to do anything about it.
Right, because if we do, we're going to show that our people are allowed to do these like things.
Yeah,
exactly.
So, but the reason why I was surprised that guy wasn't put into it more was that I felt like he should have had the power to like continue on afterwards. But I think that's also was probably used as a storytelling medium for the ISB guy to like, because he's like, you're not working for us anymore. Remember when he came in? Yeah,
they fired them all because you no longer exist. So it's now the Empire.
I think it was more. I think the reason why they didn't expound upon that boss was for the purpose of to be like, we have so much power, that guy's getting out of here. Yeah. So like, I think he was used as kind of cannon fodder for plot, which honestly is fine because it worked.
Well, yeah, it showcased how the Imperials took over.
Yeah.
It's like, who's going to take the fall? Because like there has to be somebody running
this.
It's
like, you're a corporate guy. You clearly know what you're doing.
We already have people who are going to be running this, so we don't need you anymore.
Exactly, yeah.
Yep.
So.
Any other thoughts about anything? I think personally overall, great series. Not my favorite. Great. Fantastic. Needs to be watched. I think it does exactly what it's supposed to do, which is provide beautiful filler and to allow people to connect the dots in like what is actually going on in between these movies and such. And they do Mon Mothma justice, which is great to see.
Really I think that Andor has done an incredibly good job at something that a lot of long-running television shows do not do a good job about. We have differing opinions about Game of Thrones, but I always find that Game of Thrones, to a certain extent, has a lot of pointless and useless scenes that are meant to be about character development, but they don't move anything. With Andor, I feel like every minor character had something to bring to the table, and that was actually really interesting. Like Mon Mothman, it would go from a scene of Mon Mothman, and you're like, oh shit, I'm really invested into this. And then it would go to like Luthen, and you're like, oh shit, I'm really invested in this. And then it would cast you like, oh, I'm really invested. So like, it kept you interested at all times, which I mean, that's just the credit of Andor. So I mean, I love that.
I'm just glad because I remember seeing Rogue One, and overall I liked Rogue One, but I hated Cassian Andor's character. He was just like way too intense, just out of fucking left field. I'm like, who is this fucking guy? Like, he's so like,
who's this dude?
So it was interesting to me that they would build a series on him, and I'm still trying to figure out why. And I'm not want to get into it, like why they like expounded upon him and why he would be so important, but. They did a really good job in showing his progression from like some immature like idiot who's just running around doing his own thing into like a hardcore like rebel, because he does have a lot of skills. He is a very skilled person in terms of like being a pilot, knowing how to get around security, knowing how to fight. So it's a great show. And like that's why I didn't really focus too much on him, because you knew it was just going to be him progressing into a more mature rebel fighter. Versus now, it's like you're looking into like the details of Mon Mothma, the ISB and Wolf Lauren, like how the Empire. Like I love that. I love like getting into the nitty gritty, which shows it's like a much more adult show. It's kind of like how people shit on Phantom Menace because it was just so political, but that's just as important about like seeing like how these things are happening. Not just all of a sudden we're in the Clone Wars and now the Jedi are here and now it's the Empire. It's like, well, it's like that doesn't just happen. Like there's so many things going on, and like this universe is just so big that like you could, and I think they are doing that justice in terms of like actually going into these important events.
Yeah, I think that Andor did arguably the best in any Star Wars about handling the political side of things, and how things are handled in the background. Because I mean, in the Star Wars Clone Wars, obviously there was a lot of political episodes. You had the assassination episodes. I mean, Amidala was like a main character, so like you had to have those. But I feel like those were handled in a very prim and proper way, where it's like, you see things on a very like face value front, versus like Andor's like, that's good and all, but this is all the shit that's happening behind the scenes, and it's a fucking mess.
We could go into the Clone Wars at some point too about everything that was going on, just that whole era, because the whole war was just a farce, anyways. But there was I'm not
detracting from it.
No. But I'm saying like we could look at some new episodes, and like you have to rewatch the series anyways.
Yeah, that's true.
So, but yeah, I think it does I think personally the Clone Wars does just as good a job as like getting into the politics of things as Andor does.
So to wrap up, what are some things, my friend, that you would want to see in the next season? Because the second season it's going to be a while, but the second season is guaranteed.
Obviously, I mean, we're going to see the continuation of Mon Mothma's struggle. I think we're going to see a lot more of like the missions that Cassian does. What I personally want to do is I want to see how they handle Luthen. I mean, I feel like he's just going to die, because obviously you don't see him anywhere else. I want to see how he meets K2 from Rogue One, which hopefully we'll see. There is story about how him and K2 meet, but I'd like to actually visualize that and see it. And hopefully they bring back the Death Star, just because that was such a pivotal thing for everything the Empire had going on. They actually do I don't know, you probably don't remember, but they had a quick little line about it too, about the Death Star, because they were like, oh, we have all these supplies going into I can't remember the system, but it was a system that the Death Star would be built in. They just slid that in there, like just a quick one line, like, oh yeah, by the way, the Death Stars exist.
Nice little flavor.
Yeah, just a quick little tiny like tease. So I want to see that. I want to see, and I want to see Wolf Lauren and the ISB get more involved about things. I wonder if we'll see Thrawn too. That would be cool. That would be really cool. We might even see people from Rebels, because at this point they exist. But again, both Andor and Rebels are started at the same time, so maybe we'll see them come together. that'd be cool to see Rebel characters live action. So yeah, I want to see more Rebels, like from the Rebels series. I want to see them on the big screen. I want to see K2. I want to see the Death Star get involved. I want to see the ISB get involved. Thrawn's probably asking too much, but if we saw Thrawn on screen, I'd fucking shit my pants. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
And granted, he deserves his own movie. He deserves his own show. I don't know how much you know about Thrawn.
Not much.
You should look into Thrawn. He's a huge character.
Yeah.
Huge character. He's so huge that they retconned him because he was only expanded universe, and they brought him back. They had the author Timothy Zahn rewrite a whole new series to go along with the new canon.
Wow.
Yeah, and he did so well as not only just doing that, but he actually brought back old material and was allowed to kind of slip it in, like retcon material that was brought back in.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Anybody out there who knows Thrawn is, agrees like the respect, and like the whole time he works for the Empire, but like you cannot dislike him. And the Rebel show doesn't even do him justice. Like the books do him justice. Like the audiobooks, that's what you should do. You should listen to the audiobooks of Thrawn. They're chef kiss. They're just delicious, dude. They're so good. Nice. What would you like to see in the next season?
Yes. This is gonna seem like an odd one, but they did so much setup work for it. I want to know what's going on with Andor's Cassian's sister.
I think she might actually be dead.
No, I know, but like they go into so much of the backstory. They have all these flashbacks of the scene, and they put so much emphasis on the fact that he is from this strange ass planet. Because they're like, what happened to I forget what the planet's name.
You want to hear some fire theory that I just thought of right now?
Sure.
Do you remember Andor? Do you remember that character Cinta, Vel's girlfriend?
Vel's.
The one that was like treating Cassian's wound during the.
Yes, the Vel, the other girl, not the cousin to Moth.
Right, not her girlfriend.
Yeah. Yep.
What if that's Cassian's sister? Her whole family died by stormtroopers. She's hyper into this stuff. She looks like the girl.
Maybe.
That's a stupid theory that I just thought of now. But like, what if that's her?
Yeah, I guess that's possible. But yeah, I like to go into that because I feel like that was Cassian's original
drive.
Yeah, so like that has to be tied up in some way. Let's see. I also want to see a lot about Mon Mothma because like she's just a goat. Let's see. What else would be cool to see? I would like to see the Emperor be involved a little bit because he was very hands-on in the original trilogy.
Well, obviously. Like it was just like big point, but I think that was.
But you only see him in that one scene in the Senate where he's sitting there listening to whatever the fuck's going on.
I think that was the point of this. Is like we're not talking about like big picture things. Like we're talking
very
about like, the
underground
details. Yeah, the like what goes on and like under the skin. Like this is everything else.
But my counter to that, because that's very true. But my only counter to that is that you had gone into the previous episode about the timeline. Like there's very little time before shit starts getting really real. And
yeah, because at this point, like the Rebel Alliance doesn't actually exist.
Yeah.
Like it's only now do we start to see like ISB agents, like that Deja lady catching on to be like, these are all connected. Like these aren't just random people rebelling. Like this is gonna culminate.
But it's like it's a catalyst, so things are gonna explode, and when they explode, it's gonna happen very quickly. So I want to see where he might not be involved at all, but it would be interesting to see like his reaction to the birth of the rebellion, essentially.
I see what you're saying. I'm trying to think of other source material.
He's probably gonna try and quell it.
He was involved with Thrawn because the Thrawn series that I was talking about takes place in the same time frame. Like just like
I still unfortunately won't be able to relate to you on this.
Yeah, so just hopefully you have time to like catch in. I really think you should look into the audiobooks of Thrawn.
If I
can share them with you, I will. Just because it's much better to listen to them because you actually get Thrawn's voice, which is like, I can sleep to that shit, dude.
Yeah.
But I think everything that happens in the Thrawn series takes place in the same time frame as not just exactly this Andor series, but like what's going to happen afterwards, up until Rogue One. And I think you will see the Emperor be more interested because yes, there are now more signs, and they do obviously bring in Thrawn to kind of quell this rebellion. And you see a lot of this filler in Rebels as well. You have Grand Moff Tarkin get involved, like with a hands-on basis. So you should look into the Rebel series as well. You really should do that just to like give yourself more filler.
And then obviously, I mean, this goes without saying, but I think the most obvious one is, the final clip of the series is obviously Andor gets the drop of Luthen, and like it's like, yo, take me in.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I kind of want to know,
because he was trying to kill him because he was a loose end. He was he was a firecracker.
Because he's like, we literally could not have this guy. This guy is like
the
worst possible solution. So like, yeah, they were like,
he's like a Saw Gerrera, but like dumb.
Yeah, he's Saw Gerrera, but way more reckless and way more stupid. No offense, Andor.
And I love that. I love how candid he was with Saw Gerrera. He's like, I don't know what you're gonna do.
Yeah. So that's obviously the thing. I also want to know what the fuck is like. We were talking about this briefly earlier, but it's like who Cyril's like relationship with the Daedra. Because now she's warmed up to him because he saved her life.
I would not be surprised if he gets involved with the ISB and becomes Imperial. I would not be surprised. He does have the mentality and like the attitude for it.
He reminds me a lot of, for any film buffs out there, if you see the old black and white film, The Bicycle Thief. It's like a really, really old film, but the whole idea about it was like this during I think the aftermath of World War II or whatever, where there was a huge depression in Italy, and no one could get work. And this guy, he gets lucky enough to be pulled in from the job. Like there's people in line for like jobs 24/7. He gets pulled in for it. He gets a job as a bicycle news poster guy. He like puts posters places and does a lot of that stuff. But he gets a bicycle, and his whole family struggling. Well, someone steals his bicycle.
Okay.
And the whole concept of it, the whole adventure that goes in, is that it's a tough ass adventure, but the guy's just fucking stupid. Like everything he does is just wrong, but he's like the main character, so you have to be like, all right, I guess we have to root for this guy. And I feel like Cyril's the same way. Like everything he does is just fucking dumb, and he like messes up everything, and he's completely unlikable, but he's like the main character. So it's like you have to be like, well, I don't know what the fuck's gonna happen. And it's the same thing, because he's got his boy, remember his right hand dude?
And
he's a G. Like he's like, yo, I'm gonna.
Mosk is awesome.
He's like, I'm gonna help the shit out of you, even though you're the dumbest character of all time. But like, he does not reciprocate that at all.
No.
Like he's like, I don't care about you at all. I just want to get this revenge on Cassian and be seen as well for the ISB.
Well, I don't know if he doesn't care about him, because I think he does care about him and has major respect for him, because he brings him in as his right hand man immediately for the shit that happens on Ferrix. But I think he's like, I don't know what he thinks he could do for the guy. The guy has a different job now. He's doing his own thing. Like
that's true, but he's never said like thank you or anything like that.
Well, I mean, yeah, sure, but like, who does?
Well, I feel like he will get rid of him as soon as it crosses his mind to do so.
Oh, I don't know if he's that. I don't know. I don't see him as that malevolent. He's kind of weak. He's kind of really weak spined.
He's weak spine, but like
you see him contemplating. Do you remember in Ferrix when they're setting up on the road and they're all taking position and Mosk is up top of the rifle, and you see Cyril go into that house and he closes the door a little bit? You actually kind of see him contemplating closing the door completely. Yeah, which is what I thought he was going to do.
Well, he's a coward.
Yeah, he's spineless. So I don't see as him like dropping people off. It's just like he doesn't have the stomach for it.
But I feel like he's also a power hungry kind of dude.
Yeah,
like he wanted that's why he went through all that shit. He's like, I want to be. Like, I'm going to circumvent my boss because I want to do something that's going to put me in a good light, that kind of situation.
And he does. And like a lot of the times, especially with what the stuff was going on with Ferrix, he refers to Mosk like, what should we do about this? How many men should we bring in? I think he doesn't like disrespect the guy. Like he very much, because if he was willing to be that, like he would bluff his way through shit, but he's not. He doesn't.
Yeah, but I feel like he's kind of just, I feel like he's just kind of spoiled in the sense that he's like expecting people to help him.
Yeah. And just because he's doing the right thing.
Not like caring about their needs or anything like that. But that's just me. So I have that's one of the things that I wanted to see in the new episodes. Like I have no clue why this guy is still relevant and what we should be feeling about him. So there's got to be something that has to do with it. I don't know if it's just gonna be as basic as a love interest for Daedra, or if it's just gonna be like something actually.
That would be weird.
Well, that's what he was like a stalker for her.
Yeah.
But eventually he saves her life, so she's like, well, I guess I like you.
Stalker.
Weirder things have happened, man. But yeah, I think that concludes this portion.
Catch us next time on Fandora's Box, where we don't know what we're going to be discussing, but we'll be discussing it.
Yeah. Any opinions or anything like that? feel free to acknowledge us and also read up on the knowledge that my boy has dropped.
Indeed. And as always,
The universe is gargantuan.
Anybody has any questions about what we should do next or anything else, that'd be great.
For sure. From now, though, this has been Andor Candor.
Signing off.